Hello and welcome back to What's Bubbling in ZIM. I am Dr. Abstract, and in this bubbling we're going to finalize our look at what's new in ZIM 019. So let's go to the ZIM site now at zimjs.com and we'll press on What's New. We've done a general bubbling on all this stuff. We did a cheat sheet, shuffler, shader channels, perspective, glitch, monitor, and isometric bubblings. And now we're going to go into the ZIM updates. By the way, there's editor views of all of these things as well. We're going to go into the ZIM updates and check out everything here and find if there's anything new beyond just our major updates there, which there are. So there's the shader channels. We have some code for that, which is applying this shader to change the colors of our ZIM circles by passing in our ZIM circles there to a channel 0. Here's the perspective, quick example of that. The glitch, quick example of that. The cheat sheet, isometric updates with the game asset zip. The shuffler, which shuffled these things, quick example. The monitor, syntax color. Okay, so here's something new. We can use ZIM syntax color function on any word or character. And you pass that in there and it will tell you if it's an operator, a class, a string, number, color, constant, keywords, brackets, command, comment, or other. There's a color for each of those. And the default is the light theme. There's also a dark theme and maybe a couple others. You can make your own themes. But the idea is each word, like the word circle, would be a ZIM class, so it would get colored blue like this. Whereas these are keywords, those are brackets, commas, etc. So you can color syntax your code if you so desire. Border shape, that's something else that's pretty cool and new. So we added a border shape class, and that's because if you try and mask with a border, it doesn't work. Only the fill aspect of a shape works as a mask, not the border aspect, or not the stroke. So that's kind of a pain because there are neat effects. For instance, this one right here, where we are we're masking a shader with the border there. Let's grab the code for that. Bring it on over here. That's the shader code. We don't really care so much about the shader code. We're more interested in what happens down here. So we have a shader, then we have a button, and we could make the button, which has a shape as its main thing, we could make that shape be the mask, and therefore we could mask it. There's actually an example similar to what we got here where the whole button is the background color. But here we're talking about the border, and it won't work as a mask. So we're going to make a border shape here, and then say that that's the width and the height of the button. If we're masking it, we don't need a color. I'll tell you what, why don't we just see what this shape looks like without the mask? So we won't bother masking, and then we get all of that. And it's clear shapes, so we want red, for instance. Now we've got a red border on there, and this is a bit, it's very beautiful, but a little bit distracting. So why don't we comment out the shader? Yeah. All right. And so what we've done is we put a border shape the same size as the button, same corner as the button, and we've located it at the button. Tell you what, why don't we, for now, just center it, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. How about we make it 200 by 200? Let's have a look at this. So there's 200 by 200, and we'll make it like 20. Okay, that is a shape, and how we did it is we made could be a rounded rectangle. I think we actually used move twos, line twos, curve twos, or arc twos, or something like that. But you go one way, and then if you make another shape on the same graphic, then it's called winding, and that will unwind, and it will actually chop out the middle. So it makes a solid shape. We're doing this all with fill. We fill the whole thing, and then we draw an inner rectangle and the wrong way around, and it chops out the center. That was done back in the graphics class in Flash. It's done in the raw canvas graphics. It's called winding. So kind of a neat thing. But basically that's a fill with a hole in the middle, basically. And that allows us to mask that. So we could bring back the mask and see what that looks like. Doesn't look very good until we either, well, the easiest way is to set that to clear, but we could move it to the bottom. That's interesting. It looks like the button is there. So if the button were black, if it were blue, then you could see that the button is on top of what we've just done. Why is the button on top? Border shape, we've centered it, we masked it. Border shape centered. Not sure why the button is on top of the shape. Oh, the button's on top of the shader. So the shader's underneath the button, and the mask happens to be above it. But the mask is clear, so we can't see it. If it were red, then the mask is on top, but what it's masking we can't see. So anyway, no big deal. We just want to make that, say, bigger. Let's make it 300 by 300. I want to show you what it looks like. Well, actually, we'll do 300 by 200 just for now. I want to show you rounded corners. So if this is 300 wide and 200 high, then if we had the height, half the height, that's a rounded corner. So we can do rounded corners like that. And it looks a little bit awkward because it's not usually a bit longer, and you get sort of a classic pill shape. And again, if we change this to clear, then we can get a nice effect through that. And indeed, if it's circular, so say go 400 by 400, then the corner would need to be 200 to be circular. And you can do circles. Let's make that thicker, maybe 50. All right, so this border shape does rectangular things and also circular things by making the corner be half the width or the height. It doesn't do triangular, which is too bad. So basically you'd have to do that yourself in a similar way. You could take a look at the code of the border shape and apply that to a triangle, make a triangle going one way. We actually did add corners to a triangle just recently. So you do have the equations to actually put corners onto a triangle. And at that point we were making custom triangle things. So it should be pretty easy to unwind a triangle too if you really needed a triangle like that. Maybe one day we'll do that. You know, what would we call that? Border triangle. It's like, eh. But anyway, we've got circles and rectangles covered. Nice, huh? And so that's a wonderful effect. We did do a couple other effects. Maybe if we take a look at, how do we do that again? Code and then promo. The promo might link other things that are related. Do we have any related? No, we don't. How did we find those border shapes? I think I put them in under examples, maybe? No. Back on the main page under UI UX. Yeah, okay, so we just added them into here, and this will link to a promo. We should have made it so that each of these had a reference to the other ones as well. Maybe we'll do that. But there's the one that we were just looking at, and here's the one that has the whole button right there is being used as the background. It's quite nice, huh? As well, so like both of them, there's the lightened version or the background. And if we go back, here's Wild doing something similar. In this case, we're using text, and so as soon as you want to use text as a mask, you go to an alpha mask. So basically we put all of this in a container. And if we do that, would it, I think alpha mask will work on borders, so we don't need to make this a border shape. It could just be a circle. Probably it is if we look at the code here. Use the same shader for each of those. But there's our circle, and note that it's just a circle with a big thick black border. And when you use an alpha mask, that will pick up the color of the border. And that's okay. It's only when you use an actual ZIM mask or a set mask, CreateJS mask, that you have to do it on a shape. Alpha mask effect is okay. So there's our alpha mask effect on that. What else have we got? We have a sort of a bigger version there, not so much of a button, but a nameplate, we'll call it, with some nice Dr. Abstract font on there. Okay, so that's a little bit about the border color, or the border shape, sorry. It's right there. What else have we got? Animate and drag style. So animate and drag now are styled. So if we style with an on-top false, then drag, and we drag something, that these drags right here will be on-top false. Normally, in the past, we haven't been able to style methods, only style classes, or objects made from classes. So, but animate and drag have so many parameters that it might have been handy to do that. So here we are then making the animate. So anytime we animate, it will rewind true. And the props, so we're scaling to 2. Now that's a tricky thing because the props are squiggly brackets like that, scale 2. And so we are doing a no pick on that. Come to think of it, maybe we don't have to. Let's try this one out. We might not even have to do a no pick on these squiggly brackets because really only the squiggly brackets that are a min and max should be treated as a ZIM V value. It's a bit advanced, so don't worry about it if you don't know what we're talking about. I'm just going to pick those up and put them into ZIM, into the editor, and try this out. Clear that, paste, and test. Do we have enough here for that to do? There they are, both rewinding and scaling. So did you see that? Based on this, let's see if we, oh, it's the props are that. No, it should still work. Okay, let's try putting that not in a no pick and see if it still works. And we test. It doesn't work. Okay, so we can't just no pick a props of a scale 2 because it's treating this as a potential ZIM V value, but it really shouldn't because it's not a min and a max inside of these squigglies. So we'll take a look at that. We might be able to remove that trickiness of saying no pick. So do not, I think that's why it's doing this. Do not pick that. Means take it in face value, that as a value. And there it is when we test. So could we get loop true? Do you want to try? Comma, loop, colon true as well. And now that gets bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller. So we've just applied style to these animates. And just in case, if there's ever, like if any of these things that you're trying to apply to an animate is actually a style for other objects too, you can specifically say these are animate styles by using capital A, animate. Like that gets all these styles right here. Is that right, or do we have the wrong number? I think we have the wrong number. Animate goes to here. That is no pick. Okay, there we go. And that will specifically target animate like that. Don't put lowercase animate because we're able to style on various objects. That's a convenience method. So we could animate things with styles, and we can do other things like center them with styles and register. Anyway. So that's a convenience thing. So we had to go to capital A. Same with drag. You can drag with a style like drag would drag colon true, comma will make these be also draggable. So if you want to style things specific to drag, you would have to capital D and then say on top colon false. Not that we'd be able to change on top colon false there. And now we can't drag it because we didn't add a drag, but if these are dragging it, I suppose we could probably just say drag true here as well. And then the colors of these, let's go color colon series. Yellow, no, yellow's a bad color to see on white. Purple, red. Okay, and a comma here. And then we put colors in here. And we've got a purple one that we're dragging and a red one that we're dragging. And what we want to do, that's on top. And when I pick up the purple, it's not on top. So we've just told, hey, drag people, please don't do that. However, you don't have to. You can just style the on drag loose, and then that also works where the purple is still not on top. Okay, but we're just saying that if we want to target specifically drag things, then use the capital D like we use the capital A there. I think we get away without using capitals on either of those though. And something broke. Props is no, pick, rewind, true, loop, true. See anything else that we missed? Comma, missed a comma there. All right, there we go. And we're still at the same thing where that's not on top. Nice, huh? Woohoo! Don't you love ZIM? Wow, yeah, okay. Library pages. We're just going through all of the changes that we've made that aren't the major changes. Library pages, yay. Have a look here. Have a look nowhere. Okay. Does that click? No. Sorry, we should have put a link in there. Is there anything else that we just adjusted that we thought we should change? No, we needed the no pick, so we should have a look into that. What that really means is we should pop into here, go under the forum, and I don't know, what would it be under requests? Put a little request in here and say no pick not necessary on props colon I don't know, rotation. Why did I pick rotation? It's the longest one ever. Transforms rotation colon 20, for example. Because not min max. So I'll know what that means, and we can take a look at that later, just so I don't forget there. Sorry about that. All right, what were we having a look at? Yeah, we're trying to find where those things are. So under the code section, under the libraries, we now have adjusted how this looks. And there's a page for each library. This started with a special sockets page. Used to be an old looking socket page way back to, that was ZIM Duo. ZIM Duo, we introduced sockets. And ever since then, we had this sort of unique looking sockets page. We then took that and put it into when we made these things work for No Package Manager, we redid the sockets page, we redid the 3JS page. So for a little while, for the last year or so, we've had these two. We always knew that we would want specific pages for these other ones, and so now we've got them. So here's the specific looking page for the physics, which gives you examples and videos for the physics, as well as examples or like what the code looks like, and the fact that we would import. Oh, I got to fix that. So import not from that, just import that. That actually doesn't work. So I'll whip in there and fix. So we used to be doing import ZIM from that, and we realized we don't need it. But we don't even need the from. And as a matter of fact, if we put the from in there, it doesn't work. So it's just import that. And that's physics. Going back, we have, well, the 3 one was always, 3 is quite big because we got 2 ways to do 3, and we can also go into all the texture active. What's that called? What is that called? Studio, the texture active studio and stuff. There's physics, 3JS, game. Here's the game one. So nice. Okay, good, making games, examples of games. Okay, and here's the pizzazz one. So now this would be an easier way for you to pop in and see what our icons, what icons are available for us, and so forth. There's shapes and the patterns as well. So pizzazz stuff and the cam stuff. And tracking ML5, videos relating. We're still working on getting the ML5. We can't find a module version of ML5. We've got a question into their forum. We should go check that at some point. But we'll try and bring an ML5 in right with the cam module. So we just import cam. That would be nice to have. As well, there was another one we were working on, one of the model importers, or the types of import in 3JS we were trying to roll in as well, but no luck on either of those at the moment. We'll get there. Okay, it is possible, looking at this, it would be sort of nice if we had a separate libraries page that showed all of these helper modules without having to go to the code page to see them. So we may do that at some point too, right? So here's the code page, and get to the libraries by getting that, but maybe a separate page just for specifically the libraries. We do have a libraries helper page, so with that we'd have to fiddle with that a little bit. Somewhere in here it looks like a cat. There it is, custom library page. So we already got a custom library page, but this is the same kind of thing. Those are libraries, and you could make your own custom library, and this shows you how. So we would just have one that's called library that would have the libraries on there. So that makes sense. Maybe we'll do that sooner than later and kind of roll it in all as part of this intro. So have a look for that in the future. Where would we put a link to it? Here. That's about it. We could maybe feature it up above here, like under features we could have that, and then our libraries page right up above in here so that you don't have to jump all the way down to it. All right, well, thinking about things, and how we doing? That's libraries. And we've got some general updates, so usually we do a quick scan of these to see. Drag parameters, let's start, pause, no need to, like some of these are just bug fixes, so you don't really care about, but let's see if there's anything that's not. Select point. Monitor ID has been added to everything. That's all part of the monitor stuff though, so we can read that in the docs. Remove of stage mouse events with gestures, gesture missing pixel style to complete 106 changes. Style, so completed the 016. Okay, don't worry about that. Style on a book. Stepper with numbers for ZIM interval, immediate true to work. Yeah, so these seem to be mostly fixes. Optimizing to tips, XML object in ZIM loop. There's our XML sprite sheet thing. The reg and origin. Oh, you can now remove the outline automatically shows reg and origin. And normally we want that, but sometimes if you're demonstrating something like we demonstrated on the cheat sheet, for instance, we wanted those to not be there to simplify it. So now we've added a couple parameters to do that. Though that should say white, I think, typo in there, white size. Made tabs, use improvement, updated ZIM base. So ZIM base is working properly now. It was fine before, but it was giving PHP errors or warnings that we don't want to see. Mouse outside grid. Oh yeah, so do we want the grid to track the mouse outside or not? When we put the grid onto our cheat sheet, we moved the mouse anywhere and it was activating the grid, which was really annoying, so we made it so that you could only activate the grid when you're rolling over the grid. And do we want the cross on the grid? Oh, bot. Hey, there you go. There's one. It's worth the wait. See, if you got here, you're happy. We do not have to say bottom, all uppercase. We can just say top, bot. Nice. So that's a ZIM constant. It's the same as bottom. So in other words, right and bot. Do remove style on, so flare stuff, fixed docs for panel. Oh yeah, in the panel we had said it was just label, but it's actually title bar label. We added a sys style to style. So almost added size for convenience, but we can't do that because it conflicts with the font size. Yeah, it's like, oh gosh. But anyway, you can now size things through styles. And fixed diagonal movement speed for the selector. Good. We fixed CreateJS 1.51 for Chinese, and this isn't 1.51 anymore. I'll have to go in there and fix that as well. So that's a couple, there's a typo somewhere, and that's 1.5. We're now going to CreateJS 1.5 right here, and that's important for you guys as well, so I'm glad you're still here if you are. well, if you're hearing this, you are. There we go. We've dropped the last decimal for our own Create.js because we're not making many changes to it. And when we do make changes, we usually consider them patches. And anytime we make a patch on Node Package Manager, we still have to update the version. And so it's just a pain in the neck to be updating versions of Create.js for just a small patch. So we are just keeping it much like ZIM. In ZIM, we're ZIM 019, and we make patches on ZIM 019. Meanwhile, Node Package Manager and behind can go ZIM 19.1.2 or whatever, and we don't care. Node Package Manager will just keep on increasing them. They don't really mean anything. But we keep our local CDNs the same so that you guys don't have to keep on updating your files just to get a patch. On the other hand, patches can sometimes create errors, so we have to be very careful with our patches that we're not messing up existing code that is out there. And so far so good as far as I know. And we've been doing that for now a few years, so probably okay. And there's all of our updates, our various updates. So lots and lots of updates still to do. The bubbling videos, which we're on our very last bubbling video right here, and we have to update the Patreon site. Speaking of Patreon, it was quite a lot of work to get all this done, so we certainly appreciate those who have been donating. And if you're, make sure that if you're a student watching this or you don't have the means, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We're certainly not expecting it at all to put in money for ZIM. But if you've been using this professionally, then that helps us, of course. This has been a lot of work doing this. We're happy to get this out to the people. And as much as you can, also let others know about ZIM. Let your competitors know about ZIM. There. Does that sound like a good advice? All right, take it easy. This is Dr. Abstract, and we've been looking at the what's new in ZIM. We've gone through and done bubblings on all these things now, as well as the general updates at the bottom. Have a good day or night. This has been a What's Bubbling at ZIM. Come on and join us at the forum. Let us know how it's going. Cheers.